has done here over the course of the last few days. And so thank you for just coming out and meeting with us during what has undoubtedly been some of the most trying days in this community. 1985 through 1990, I represented Hood County in the Texas legislature, so there's familiar faces and familiar places here for me. And this community is it's special in a lot of ways, but hearing the stories from the men and women who went through the last few days is very powerful. It has a profound effect, and when you see these individuals and their ability to make it through that is destruction that is almost incomprehensible to explain, and how people have lost not only their lives but their possessions. How quickly your life will change is the story so often that we forget about. Just 2 days ago, these streets, I'm sure, were full of children and individuals living very normal lives. And there were strong families up and down this asphalt. They were overcoming challenges of their daily lives. They're taking the kids to school. They're putting food on the table, or just living life, very normal lives. A turnaround can happen very quickly. A tornado can turn your life upside down, literally, in a span of just a few mere seconds. Many of those houses that were just a couple of days ago very normal looking American dream homes are now in ruins. It's just wood and glass and concrete slabs, all mixed in with memories and mementos of the family. And listen, the houses will be replaced. Em and I were just talking about some new concepts, talking about West and how to rebuild that community. The houses will be rebuilt, but there's no replacing those loved ones who were lost in the storm. So, Sheriff, I want to say thanks to you and your directors here in Hood County for the work that you did. You see this devastation, you realize the work that they did from the standpoint of getting the word out, their sirens, their reverse 911, if you will, process that they have in place. I would suggest to you, not only did it work, it saved numerous lives. It's going to be a difficult few days as we deal with this. But again, this was a huge storm, and it had upwards of F5 winds. We were well served by the emergency responders, our first responders, and whether it was our firefighters, it was our DPS, the local police department, again, Parks and Wildlife, all of them, thanks for the selfless service that they were involved with, getting people out of harm's way. We've got the best emergency management team in the country. Unfortunately, we get to see it operate more often than we'd like, but I know that the people of this community will rebuild, working with them over the course of days, coordinating with our federal counterparts and the local folks, and particularly the private sector in the state. I know that H-E-B and Walmart, I think of both, and Home Depot, just great partners that we have in the private sector that are working with us. We greatly appreciate their help. So with that, I'm going to ask both Attorney General Greg Abbott to say a few words, and Judge Daryl Cochran is also going to say a few words. So I will retire from the podium here, and General, that you have that, and Judge, you'll be up next, and then we'll try to answer a few questions that you have. Thank you.
I can't tell the extent to which audio is going to be picked up, so I'm going to project a little bit. 2 nights ago was a very typical Wednesday night in Granbury, Texas. Many people were gathered at a church. Others were gathered around a dinner table. Others watching TV. Some doing homework. Only to have that night interrupted by the blare of emergency warning sounds piercing across the county, alerting those families that their lives would be significantly changed in just a few minutes. Because it was just a few minutes later that alarm was followed by destruction and devastation and even death. In the moments that tornado swept through here, we also saw signs of tremendous courage. I remember the story of the little 10-year-old boy who described hugging to objects in his bathroom as the remainder of his house literally got blown away. Well, that little boy represents what everyone in this community represents and what people across this state represent. And that is that Texans often get knocked down, but they always get back up. They're already getting back up with this community coming together, neighbors coming together, the state coming together, and of course, they're able to respond so effectively because of the first responders who were on the scene immediately and remain on the scene as we gather now. Well, as we put our lives back together and help our neighbors put our lives back together, we want to thank everyone in this community. But I also want to send out another warning. It's a legal warning to people in this community. Sometimes after devastation like this, we see unscrupulous, even illegal acts by some people who operate in this area. People who try to prey upon victims of travesties like this. And so we're sending out a warning against the illegality of price gouging the victims of this devastation, but also a warning to people who try to board their lives back up in repairing their homes. Do not get ripped off by people who come door to door trying to scam you out of your money. Make sure you know who you're dealing with. Make sure that the services are going to be provided by someone who is honest and will do their duties. We stand ready to both provide you more information and knowing what signs to look for to make sure you don't get ripped off, but also stand ready to take your complaints if you do feel like you're getting ripped off to make sure we can investigate or prosecute anyone who tries to harm you a second time in the aftermath of a storm like this. Once again, I'd like to thank all of the city and county officials who are here, Governor Perry for the state's response. And I think at this time I'm passing the mic over to the county judge. Governor, back to you.
Thank you. I'd like to echo some of the things that Attorney General Abbott said. I think our sheriff has some room in the Deeds Hotel for any of those lawbreakers. So I want to put that warning out first. I seriously love to thank all of the people who have come out and responded, all of the volunteers. They've just been wonderful. Matter of fact, we've had to turn people away. We've had so many. We had a truck dropped off with 18 pallets of water. We had a truck, the 18-wheeler dropped off with shovels, gloves, and all kinds of wheelbarrows and things for the cleanup effort. I mean, people have responded overwhelmingly. The Granbury and Hood County volunteer fire departments have worked diligently out here cleaning up. Our Commissioner Berry has worked in the EOC just about every step of the way. Commissioner Deeds has been out here working the field. And the state has been wonderful. I can't say enough about the state agencies that have come up. They've just been great. With our help, with the advice, things we, but now we're kind of getting into the search and rescue is over with. And so we're moving on. We need to find places for those folks who are displaced to live. So we're moving on, planning, and with the state's help, we're going to do that. So thank y'all all.
Thank you, Judge. General, thank you for coming out today and let us open up any questions those of you in the working media have for us. Myself, Tim Kidd is available for some technical questions on emergency declarations, etc. that I know you're going to most likely ask about.
Is there any update on the people that are injured and been hospitalized? Do we know what their status is?
I don't have an exact status. All I know, the status on the people that are in the hospital, as far as I know, there's only 4 that were in the hospital yesterday, and I haven't got an update on that today. Plus, there was still, I think, a dozen of them in the hospitals in Fort Worth, but I haven't got any further updates today. I'll check on that and we'll try to get that out.
Sheriff, a lot of the people that live around here want to know when they can come back to the neighborhood. Do you have anything you can tell them about the process and when they might be able to get back?
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked about that because we are working on a plan. We know, I try to learn from experience and know that we can't keep people away from their property. That just leads to more frustrations and all, but we have to get in here and do what we have to do. Search, rescue people, and then get on with the recovery. So we're working on a plan this afternoon. Don't have all the definite part of the plan to give you right now, but hopefully at 8 o'clock in the morning, we're going to open things back up on a limited basis. We're going to work a curfew from 8 at night till 8 in the morning, and during the day, we're going to have a registration period that's starting right now. It's going on for the residents and for people that can help those residents, that the residents want them to help. So no salesmen are going to be allowed in, anything like that. No press can be allowed in to start with. And we're going to allow those families to get back in here as they can, to get some stuff, get some things picked up, cleaned up, and try to get back on with their lives. So we call the Hood County Fire Marshal's office, 817-579-3335, and then you can get started on that registration to get in here, to get access to get in here starting tomorrow. And through the website.
Just Rancho Brazos, or is that also Daybreak Over Ranch, or are you working on getting them at a different time?
Day Cordova Ranch has been opened up. Grand Harbor's been opened up. The only thing we've got locked down is just here at Rancho Brazos, so that's basically just here for Rancho Brazos. Everything else, there shouldn't have been a problem.
Sheriff, some of the families we've spoken to at Rancho Brazos say they did not have ample warning, that the tornado sirens went off just 2 minutes before the tornado actually hit. Can you respond to that?
We set the sirens off as soon as we talked with the National Weather Service by radio, through amateur radio. We told them what we had, rotation, and that rotation was over the west side of Granbury Airport at that point in time. They said we were going to put out the warning for a tornado warning, and we set the sirens off, did the code red, did it all right then. So that was anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. I don't know the exact time frame before it came from west side, northwest side of the city of Granbury out to here. So we did get it out.
Do you believe the process was good enough to give people adequate time to get out of here?
Well, there's never enough time when it comes to tornadoes, thunderstorms. They move in so fast. We were trying to stay on top of it. I don't want to send out any premature warnings when it's just going to be a little rainstorm. But when we knew we had rotation and the National Weather Service confirmed it, we put the warnings out. So as fast as we possibly could, we got them out.
Governor, when you talk about creative ways to rebuild these houses in the West, can you be a little bit more specific?
And we're actually, just this next week, we're going to be putting a group of individuals together where the private sector can have a more direct impact on this, coordinating the state and federal. What we found is there are a lot of people that want to help. And all too often, West is a great example, General. We were having to turn back huge amounts of soft goods, clothing, and what have you. And the county judge said, you know, the best way that you can help is to send a contribution to the Red Cross. There may be an even more efficient way for Texans to help Texans when there is this type of disaster, rather than having to funnel it all the way through a national organization. So we don't know all the answers to that, but I know that, for instance, there are churches in the state that want to help in the community of West, in particular with that church who's had great damage done to it. There are going to be private sector individuals who want to help. And so I think being able to create a structure where the individuals are comfortable that the resources, whatever those might be, are actually getting to the individual. So, you know, it's just now being discussed and worked on. So hopefully we can create a national model for not just Texas, but for other states to take a look at. Here's how the private sector can more directly help and not have the multiple layers that sometimes you see with the federal and or the state government programs. So it's a concept that we're just starting to discuss right now. So hopefully we can have it fleshed out and Texans can be comfortable that they're getting the help that they want to be able to dispense directly to the people who have been impacted by these disasters. I haven't. It's a little bit early again. We don't even have. I think Ellis County has a declaration in. I'm sure Hood County will be forthcoming. So Johnson County, we don't have those. We don't even have those declarations yet. So I know the president is paying attention to these events. He came to Texas, which we greatly appreciated, for the West Memorial, and the administration has been good to work with at this particular juncture on these disasters.
The past couple of weeks in Texas, West Texas, they're starting to get
Well, as I say often, unfortunately, we're very, very good at dealing with disasters because we have so many of them. You think back over the last decade, whether it was a space shuttle falling out of the sky in East Texas, Hurricane Katrina, which was didn't affect Texas directly, but it did indirectly, and then you followed that up with Ike and all the other storms, the wildfires, the floods, the tornadoes. The United States, Texas in particular, is a place where a lot of disasters occur. Most of those natural disasters, some are man-made. But we've got the finest men and women in America when it comes to our emergency management. Jack Holley, who is, before NIM, was one of the best in the business. As a matter of fact, he trained NIM. And NIM Kid, I will suggest to you, is as talented as Jack. And he's training up individuals. So our DPS, our local law enforcement, and coordination between our entities is one of the things that I'm very proud of. So we would just as soon take a pass on any more disasters this year, but the fact is that the citizens of the state of Texas need to know that if one shows up in their neighborhood, whatever it may be, the best emergency management team in the world will be there to help them not only save lives to begin with, but to search and rescue any that are harmed, and then to reconstruct and get people's lives back to normal as soon as they can.
Last question, folks.
Are there any specific state resources that you want to make sure that the people here in Hood County know about, and anything procedurally that they ought to keep in mind?
So, great question, and thank you for that. The resources, we don't push, we send when requested. And I'll submit to you the judge, the mayor, the sheriff, the elected officials here, the first responders, fire chief, and the police officers that responded. We've been able to meet their needs, but they did all the hard work. There's a couple unsung heroes here, and that's the meteorologists and the National Weather Service that help us predict these warnings. And I'll submit to you, if you do not have a Weather Service radio today, go out and buy one. They save lives. So the state's resources are here at their disposal. They can answer the question if we've been forthcoming with that or not, and I think you'll get a positive reply to that. But from the next steps going forward, it'll be working with those that had insurance, getting their insurance agents in, letting their lives start rebuild, and then working with the volunteer groups and the private sector partners to help those that didn't have the insurance.
Thank you all for coming and being with us today.
So here we are out here at the site again, and as you can see, it's pretty devastating out here, and the county and Roger Deed and the sheriff and everybody, they've done a great job out here in response with the people. They've done a great job, and I got to admit, Granbury sets the pace for a lot of things. One of the things that sticks in my mind is when we brought the buses out here for the media to view this, and I talked to a lot of the media out here, and they said that's the first time that they've ever had something like that done, and they respected that. They were honored that they was able to do that with this community, and so that says a lot for this community. And like you've already heard it right now from the governor and those folks that we will rebuild this thing. We will rebuild this, and this community will come together. So my hat's off though to the county, the sheriff, the judge, the county commissioners, and everybody for orchestrating this thing and making it go so smoothly. It's been really relieved to see these type of people get out here and to take care of a disaster such as this for our community.